Welcome to The Growth Shift, the podcast where we unlock the psychological and strategic blueprints of predictable growth. If you've built a successful business, you know the truth. Your expertise is high value, but your time is finite. The question is, how do you sustain that success without sacrificing your most valuable asset? We believe that the next level of success requires a strategic pivot, a fundamental shift that moves beyond the old ways. In every episode, we dive into the critical turning points of industry leaders and uncover how they're leveraging AI not as a shortcut, but as the strategic force for their next growth shift. Today, we dive in with a leader who is defining the future of their industry. This episode is brought to you by Valentix, your strategic growth partner. At Valentix, we believe that trust and authentic relationships are the only true currency in high-value business. We challenge the status quo by building an AI-powered client acquisition engine that enhances your human connection, helping you move beyond the slow growth of referrals. Our AI-powered system eliminates the grind, allowing you to break through the noise, automate tasks, and free up your time to focus on transformative client impact. If you're ready to build a predictable growth engine, learn more at valentix.io. Now let's dive into today's episode. Today on The Growth Shift, we're joined by Mike Hopkin, the founder of Hopkin Profit Creation. Mike's career is a fascinating study in product management and strategic business growth, spanning over 2 decades in software development before making a pivotal shift to business advising. Mike now helps business owners and CEOs achieve remarkable results, often doubling or tripling their revenues without increasing marketing spend. His unique approach, rooted in product discovery and a deep understanding of sales, marketing, and operations, is now augmented by his expertise in leveraging AI to build new products. Mike's commitment to helping small businesses find success is a blueprint for productizing expertise and achieving rapid revenue growth. Mike, welcome to The Growth Shift.
Thank you, David. It's good to be here with you.
It's great to have you on the show today. Mike, your career and your journey beginning on a cattle ranch in Utah, transitioned into a software product management for over 2 decades, and then pivoted into business advising. Given your background in product development and your experience with the up and down nature of consulting, how did those early experiences ultimately lead you to conduct a product discovery on yourself and find your passion in helping business owners grow revenue?
That's a great question, David. You know, those early days on the ranch, I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to move sprinkler pipe or do things like that. My dad taught me to work, and he taught me to work at a young age, and it just something that got ingrained in me. And as I kind of grew up and went through college and then got into software development, that really helped me to be able to drive business and do it better. You know, you mentioned that it kind of drove me to what I'm doing now. What happened? I had my own consulting business, product management consulting business, for about 7 years, and it was kind of up and down. And I just kind of at the end of 23 just realized I had to figure out who am I gonna, I hadn't done any sales or marketing. You believe that? Over like 6 years, I hadn't done any sales or marketing for my business.
Incredible.
And I'm like, I've got to change that. And so that's when I did, you kind of mentioned the product discovery on myself. And I interviewed 10 or 12 product leaders to figure out what would be the best place for me to give my services in product management as a consultant. And what I found is that there was this big disconnect between the CEOs and the product teams. And I'm like, that's an opportunity for me, but I didn't have a lot of experience coaching or consulting with CEOs, with the top guy at the business. And then this opportunity came along for me to start doing business coaching, or I call it now business advising, and working with business owners, with CEOs of small companies. And that has changed my life and has changed my career. And I am super excited to be doing what I'm doing now, to be really helping business owners to grow their business and grow their revenue.
That's wonderful. Mike, I've got 2 questions here for you, very different questions, but the first being in regards to work ethic, right? It seems like the people who perform at the highest level are committed to and obsessed with the footwork, the small tasks that they do in between the big ones that really allow them to stay committed to continuing to drive results forward. You grew up on a ranch, starting work from a young age. Ranch work, it's nitty gritty, it's dirty. You're up at all hours of the day before the sun rises, slopping and you know what, perhaps, and a lot more as well. What is it you think about those early experiences of learning to work in this way contributed the most to your ability to work greater and at a higher level later in your life?
I mentioned my father. We had a few other people that worked on the ranch. One of them, his name was Al, and he was just a hired hand. He would come and shoe horses and do things. He's the one that taught me how to ride horses and do everything I know how to do with horses and cows. And when I think about working and just all the things you had to do, there were so many times I would do dumb things. That's probably not hard to believe, but and they would just gently correct me and help me to see that's not the right thing to do. And I think that has helped me more than anything as I got into the software product world. In product management, you are the one responsible for the product, but you don't do any of the work. You don't do the engineering, you don't do the sales, you don't do the marketing, but you're the one that has responsibility. So you need to work with those people. And just having those experiences as a young boy, as a young man, really have helped me to connect with people, to give them some slack or some leeway, let them do their things. If they need some correction, to be kind about it, to be gentle about it. And I think that probably has helped me more than anything from those early years.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's those small incremental changes and making the small mistakes that are necessary for learning and for growth, right? And of course, working with a team, being able to do so in a way that perhaps allows those people who are making mistakes to realize the gravity of them in the right way so they can make the right changes and then want
Yeah.
to continue improving from future mistakes as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big thing, is to kind of open their eyes a little bit to what is it they're doing, what are they responsible for, and just in a way that doesn't, like, you're not doing the right thing, but instead just kind of helps them see, you know what, I need to be more aware of those things, and it just kind of gives them the inner drive and the inner strength to do a better job at what they're doing.
Okay, second question here for you, Mike. You mentioned a disconnect between product teams and CEOs, right? Often the product is something that the CEO envisioned or is driving and
Yeah.
has that, the greater picture for. Why then, if, a CEO usually has such clarity on what a product needs to be, what causes such a disconnect between what it should be and what it was envisioned to be and what it actually is now?
Most often, and this isn't always the case, but most often it's because, why isn't it done now? Why are you guys still working on it? That was one of the things, CEOs don't really understand and I say this generally, and some CEOs get this. So I don't mean to disparage everybody, but in a lot of cases, they don't understand the work that it takes to not only envision and come up with what the software will do or should do for the customers, but how much work it takes to build it and to test it and to get it ready and to market it. And, those kind of things kind of get lost and they take time. And that's where a lot of the disconnect was.
Mhm.
And then I guess some of the disconnect was just on, there's always, and you've probably seen this in your business experience, there's always certain things that the CEO or the business owner wants that software to do, a feature, if you will. Why didn't you build my feature? That's another thing that has come up a lot. So, those are maybe the two biggest I've seen and come across. But that's a great question. And there's a lot more. I'm far from being an expert in that area right now.
Mhm.
So,
So, in your own growth shift, you identified this gap between product teams and upper management CEOs, leaders, and you decided that's the direction you had to go and you had to pursue. That's the pivot that you took. Since
Mhm.
making that change and since having that realization, what's changed for your clients?
Well, I see things so much more now from the business owner and the CEO's perspective. One of the interesting things that I have come to really believe and understand is CEOs and business owners can be very lonely. It's tough being in their position. And lonely might not be the best descriptive word, but you know what I mean? That there's just all this weight on their shoulders, and a lot of times they feel like they're the only ones that can do what they need to do. What that has helped me do is it's helped me to work with business owners and help them get the right people on their teams to do those critical things and to help them to see that they don't have to be doing everything. And it's actually helps them to free up their time and gives them some things that they didn't ever think they would have, especially time freedom.
Well, it's starting to paint a picture and create ideas for, the change that you can cause within organizations working with leaders in this way, right?
Yeah.
So now at Hopkin Profit Creation today, you help business owners and CEOs double or sometimes triple their revenues without spending additional money on marketing or advertising. What does that look like? How does that actually play out?
Well, there's 7 key principles, and I won't go into each of them, but the focus and it kind of ties in. You're familiar with the 80/20 rule. 20% of what you do delivers 80% of the results. Well, in business, there's 20% of the things that you do that deliver 80% of your revenue. So my focus is to help business owners and CEOs focus on those 7 key areas. And that drives much of their, that really gets their revenue going up because they've been distracted with other things a lot of times. One of the big ones of the 7 that I will mention is cost cutting. So much, too many business coaches just either don't talk about it or they just kind of brush over it. But I have been able to help some of my clients cut their costs by 30, 40%. And really, that means that kind of an increase in their net profit. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the key areas that I've been able to help with.
And, talking about that 80/20 split where 20% of your results drive 80% of the revenue, and this applies to so many things, whether it's that or whether it's in the actual efficiency within an organization. And I imagine from what you're saying, by helping your clients cut 30% of their costs, a lot of that is probably tied to human capital.
It's interesting. In some companies it is. In the smaller businesses that I've been working with, not so much. Believe it or not, a lot of it is tied to their online stuff, the stuff they're doing with the software they're using, or some of the social media they're using. With one of my clients, we were able to cut about, 50 grand just from their online, what they were doing online and with some of the software they were using. One of my background in software helped me to kind of key in on some of those things. And so that was very helpful. But in the bigger organizations, there is a lot of money tied up in human capital. And the key is make sure you have the right people in the right seats on the bus. Well, that goes back to the famous Jim Collins book, and let them do their work. That's the biggest thing that I coach a lot of business owners and CEOs on, is let them do their work. Let them have the responsibility, and you will be shocked at the great things they will do.
Let people surprise you, right? I mean, you hire somebody onto your team, it's for a reason. You need to be able to trust them if you expect them to trust you as well, right?
Exactly.
Mike, you have to elaborate on that client experience you mentioned. $50,000 savings just by helping them optimize a little bit more digitally. What did you actually come in and change or help them change that drove such significant results?
Well, from the cost-cutting perspective, the way we went about it is we dug into their financial statements, their P&L, their income statement, their balance sheet, and I was able to flag certain things and just ask questions. So why are you using this? This doesn't make sense to me. And in several of the cases, the business owner's like, I'm actually not sure. I'll have to talk to my marketing person. And he went back and talked to them, and they didn't really know. And I'm like, well, let's cut it. And so we were able to cut, and I won't go into all the details, but we were able to cut several, I'll call them subscriptions. You're familiar with, online subscriptions of things that you're paying every month. And that's where we found them a lot of savings. And, it's almost a $4 million HVAC business. So they were making good money, and they were just spending it on a lot of things that they, probably when they started spending that money, it had a reason. And then whoever did it either left or they got distracted with something else, and they just kept spending the money, basically wasting the money. And we helped to cut that out, and it really made a huge difference for them.
It's incredible. So you drive some pretty incredible results for your client, helping with cost cutting and other things as well, surely. You mentioned, Mike, that, initially in your time working as a product advisor or product consultant, you didn't have to run any marketing or any advertising or anything like that. It was organic growth. But when you made the shift, you realized, hey, marketing is going to be an essential part to my growth now.
Yeah.
In today's world, marketing is one of the biggest challenges that consultants and coaches across the board face, right? Client acquisition. Marketing is for client acquisition, of course.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise in the market right now, a lot of confusion, a lot of junk out there. How are you thinking about client acquisition today? What are you observing in the market when it comes to the biggest challenges that, Hopkin Profit Creation is up against?
One of the biggest things that I've learned as I've really been digging into marketing and sales, people hate to be sold. Nobody wants to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
And there's ways to just get to know people, get to know who they are, make a connection with them, find out what is driving them, what's important to them. And then just coming up with, well, what if we were to do these things together? You're making suggestions and letting them say, yeah, let's do that. And that's kind of how it's been working for me, is just getting to know people, not trying to sell them on anything, but just trying to, give them information. I call it enrolling a client. And one of the big things that I found with enrolling clients is give them something of value, give them something that'll help them, that they see the value in, and then they'll come back to you and say, hey, what about this? Or could we do this? And people are willing to spend money when it creates value for them.
Couldn't agree more. This is going to be the most important and most fundamental focus for people when it comes to client enrollment or client acquisition moving forwards, right? Providing value, showing people that you care. People don't know what you care until they care. Well, people don't care what you know until they know you care, right? That's something that everyone has heard before. But, exactly that. People don't like being sold to, right? Business is about people at the end of the day. So as soon as people see that, hey, this person cares more about themselves than they care about me, why are they going to have any interest in what you know or what you can do, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Can you share perhaps some of the strategic approaches that you're using for building relationships in this way to show people that, hey, you care about them and you're willing to offer them value before, looking for that opportunity for yourself?
Well, yeah. So one of the ways I do it, and this is a little bit, I'm going to be perfectly honest, this is a little bit self-serving. I'm working on the second edition of my book, and I've started doing book interviews with people to learn about their industry. And what I've found is, as I'm asking them questions and learning about their industry, I'm giving them things that are valuable for them and for their business. And so that's kind of the first way my initial introduction to people that I don't know. And that has become very valuable for me as a way to get something that's going to help me get my book out, hopefully mid next year. That's my goal. And also give them some things, in several key areas. I just talk about the strategies in my first book. And I'm trying to figure out, will they work in any industry or in any economic environment we're in? And so the questions kind of lead to that. And as we have those discussions, I'm getting good information, but I'm also opening their eyes to, wow, I had never thought of that. And they're thinking about it, they're giving me information about their industry, but they're thinking about their business and how does this affect me? And that's been a great way to really meet people and connect. And so that's kind of
This is incredibly powerful and self-serving in a way, yes. But when we look at it fundamentally for what you're doing, marketing is and should be at least a value exchange, right? Offering a prospect or a prospective client something in exchange for their time, let's say, and offering people the opportunity to be interviewed to contribute to your book and be identified as leaders and experts in their own right. That's an excellent value exchange, Mike. I absolutely love that.
No, that is a good one. And they appreciate, it's amazing how many people are willing to give time to do an interview with you for your book. It's incredible. And it's a blessing for me because it's really helping me get good quotes and get things that I'm putting into my my new edition of my book. So yeah.
Wonderful. So, Mike, taking the next step forwards here, looking at your background in software, right, and how that connects with AI now, right? You yourself, of course, are using AI in some pretty significant ways, and you're even helping clients build AI
Mhm.
products. Could you
Yeah.
share a couple of examples of how it is you're now using AI and automation today, either in your own practice or with advising clients?
Well, one of the ways I'm using AI is to connect with people online. AI does a really good job of just connecting with people, getting them to know who you are, and kind of making that first, because to really connect with people, they need to see that you want to talk to them, but they need to be willing to talk to you. And so I'm actually using AI to connect with people and have them be willing to talk with me. So that's one way. I use it in a lot of the writing I do. I mean, I'll be honest, I put out a lot of things on, LinkedIn and on blogs and stuff, and AI really helps me with that. And I'm using AI to really start to get my book putting my book together as well. So those are kind of the key ways I'm using it myself and for my business.
Mm. So if we look at that, right, you're using AI to move the needle, right, for those high value tasks that perhaps require your time, but by leveraging AI, you can reduce some of the time input there. There
Mhm.
are a lot of options out there. There's a lot of shiny objects, a lot of tools that are available. Seems like you're focused on those priorities and what will move the needle. When we look at AI as a potential shiny object for other business leaders and owners out there. From your perspective, what's the most critical question that a small business owner should ask themselves when assessing a new AI tool or software to make sure that, yes, this is worth my time and my investment and it won't just be a shiny object or a distraction?
Well, that is a really good question. The first thing that's kind of coming to my mind is what is the problem I am trying to solve? So I coach my clients to really get clear on the problem they're trying to solve using AI. And will AI, what are the AI options that can solve that problem for me? Well, based on what kind of, what AI tools are looking at, how much of my time will that save? Will it do what I need it to do for me to move my business forward? So that's kind of the other side, the other part of it that I coach them to do is really determine, is it going to save the time that you want it to save? And is it going to do what you need it to do?
So it's
And
that
that,
laser focus on what needs to change right now, what is a priority, not what could be done or
yeah,
what this could be for me.
exactly. Yeah.
Mike, your story covers strategic adaptation, product discovery, and a deep commitment to the things that are important in work. For the founders, coaches, and growth minded listeners who are in the middle of their own growth shift, what's the single most important piece of advice you'd leave them with about finding fulfillment in their work and ensuring their business growth is sustainable?
I'm kind of coming up with two answers because there's a little kind of two parts to that. The part about what will be the most beneficial for them or drive the most, the thing that comes to mind is your position of market dominance. If you can really nail down your position of market dominance, that will do more to help your company grow and be sustainable and grow into the future than anything else you can do. And really nailing down the position of market dominance, there's two key parts to it. It's really understanding who is your ideal client, and then what is their problem, and how do I message them in a way that they see the value I could bring to them.
Mhm.
And so getting those things worked out and worked in, the processes and the systems into how you run your business are the key to really nailing your position of market dominance. And I would say when you get that going, because the other part of your question was what helps them to feel good and be happy and love what they do. When you really get that nailed down, it takes a lot of the weight off of the business owner of, is this going to work? Am I going to have success? Because you're seeing the success. And it, to some degree, frees up their time to do it. One of the other I guess, strategies that I work with them on. And we've talked about this a little bit, but it's getting the right people in place. And when you hire the right people to do key parts of your business, that frees you up as a business owner. And that way going off, I've seen that, and it just changes their countenance. It changes who they are. They love their life more. They do more things with their family. They get to their kids' games. There's different things depending on who it is that they want, but that's really what it drives. And it comes at the end of the day, everybody from, Jeff Bezos down to the smallest business owner out there, we're all people. We're all humans. We have interactions. That's what really, at the end of the day, is the most important. Are we happy with what we're doing, with who we are, and with our relationships, and with, that's really ultimately what drives the most happiness for people.
And business is by people, for people, and with people. So whether it's from a marketing or a product perspective, or just an enjoyment perspective as well, you can never forget or bypass the fundamental importance of people and relationships in business. I love that. Mike,
Cool.
thank you so much for sharing your insights and your advice with the audience today. For anyone listening who might like to learn more about Hopkin Profit Creation, or maybe to even look into your up and coming book, what would be the best way to find you?
Yeah, you can find me at my website, which is hopkinprofitcreation.com. And you can actually download a free copy of my book on the website. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm on some of the other social media things, but where I spend my time is LinkedIn. So please, and I go by Michael Hopkin, or you might find me as Michael Hopkin on LinkedIn. But yeah, look me up on LinkedIn, and please reach out. I'd love to connect with you and, see what we can do together.
Mike, thanks again for your time, and thanks for joining us on the Growth Shift today.
You're welcome. Thank you, David. I appreciate it so much.
Another powerful conversation on the Growth Shift. If you, like our guests, are ready to turn your expertise into a predictable, scalable growth engine, one that eliminates the grind of prospecting and enhances your high-value relationships, then it's time to connect with Valentix. We are not a marketing agency. We are your strategic growth partner, building intelligent systems that ensure your client acquisition is predictable, not dependent on chance. To see how our AI-powered frameworks can free up your time and fill your calendar with decision makers, visit valentix.io. Thank you for joining us on the Growth Shift. We'll see you next time.